Welcome to High Vibrational Mastery, where we are raising the vibration of the planet one soul at a time. My name is Meagan Michael. I am a seer, a seeker, a visionary, and medium. Every Sunday, I present to you spiritual thought leaders from around our world and beyond. Today, I have a Saturday, and I have an extremely special guest for you today. We have spiritual superstar, physical medium, Kai Muegge. Kai is going to I don't even know where to begin. I'm just so excited to have him on my show, and I want to ask you all to join me in welcoming Kai.
Thank you very much, dear Meagan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're sorry about all the technical difficulties. I'm sorry about them. Be Live is usually very consistent, but today they kind of let us down a little bit. But here we are. Here we are. So what I always do in the beginning of the broadcast, Kai, is share it out. Now, do you need to share it out to different groups, or is Julia doing that for you, or are you going to do it later? Or
yeah, Julia is parallelly online. I guess she will share these things at the moment. I hope so, because from my situation here on the mobile, I cannot share that at the moment.
Right. I understand. All right. So let me do this. I'm going to, I just want you to know that I'm really excited and honored that you're here as my guest today. And I want to thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
We planned this like 3 months in advance. Kai is very busy, and so I'm very excited. And your lovely wife, Julia, is incredible, and she's helped us to coordinate all of this. And I want to thank her very much personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I will forward that. Thank you so much, dear Meagan.
Thank you. So let me ask you this, Kai, and it's the only standard question that I ask my guest. It gives me a few minutes to share out the, but I also really want to ask you this. So how did you start out? Were you a child, and then I mean, obviously you were a child. Let me rephrase the question. How did you begin your physical mediumship? Was it something that you started in childhood or developed later on? Were you always drawn to this? And I'll give that to you, and I'll start sharing.
Yeah, I started that very, very naturally. It started already in childhood, but then there was an initiation-like experience I had when I was 12 years of age. And 3 years later, when I was 15 years of age, and that is now 27 years ago. No, wait. 37 years ago, that's 37 years ago, excuse me, when I was 15 years of age, I formed my first circle for spiritual manifestations, so a physical phenomena circle, if you wish so.
And that was at 15 years old?
When I was 15 years old, indeed, quite untypical for a German youngster. But that had to do with my background. I'm coming from a teacher's household. I was very much trained to read fast and a lot. And after I had this initiation-like experience, I jumped into the world of the literature about manifestations in that regards. Okay. And if I was at, I started to form a first experimental circle with school comrades at these times. And like all the circles that followed until the Felix Circle that started 2004, all the circles I had were physical phenomena circles and successful physical phenomena circles to different degrees successful. Yeah, it's manifestations within spirituality. This was for a long time pushed aside, and in Western spirituality, other things were in the focus. And we are part of a revival movement within Western spirituality, within Western spiritualism, that wants to revive this spectacular form of spirit contact, gives the spirit worlds the opportunity, the environment to manifest around you during your sessions, during the seances. And that's what we are doing, dear Meagan.
I love that. Now, can you, because I know that a lot of the audience is familiar with your work and familiar with physical mediumship, and there's a lot of our audience that is not. I myself am brand new to all of this. And so can we just like back up a little tiny bit and let me just ask you a very basic question. What is a circle so that we all have a basic understanding of what we're talking about as we progress?
What is circle?
Yes.
From the beginning of mankind, the supernatural was manifesting around the human being, and from a very early point in time on, the human being was proactively also trying to get in contact with the supernatural, so to speak, with the spirits as the messengers of the supernatural worlds. Okay. And all over the world, there were ceremonies and rituals being created. And people came together in different spirit rituals. And 1850, the age of modern spiritualism began.
1850, you said?
1848, exactly. Okay. 1848. There is actually an initial an initial activity going on, an initial happening around a family, around the family Fox and the Fox sisters. It's a long story. Modern spiritualism was born 1848 in Rochester, New York, and was from then on spreading over the world. And within modern spiritualism, there are different settings executed or exercised or practiced. In these settings, you are calling the spirits. You are summoning the spirits. It's a contemporary Western form of spirit communication.
So this started, and we're talking about what some people might know as a séance. Is that correct? Where you're in
exactly
a room with a group of people, and I just okay. So this started in the 18th. How did this begin? I mean, I know you're not here to do a history lesson, but it's a little bit. I just think it's fascinating. Like, I guess it must have been. Was it co-created with Spirit Kai, and the sisters that you're referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's quite a complex story. 1848, it was a family living in Rochester, New York, and they were haunted by knockings and raps happening in their house. And at that time, the American society was very aware and very much ready for an upcoming new spiritual movement. All the forethinkers and the philosophers like Davis or Swedenborg, they all had pre-told that a new spiritual wave would happen soon. Maybe that was the reason, therefore, that the press was covering the ongoings in Rochester, New York, very much so. So the rappings in the house, the unexplainable knocks that were so loud that crowds of people were coming coming up on the street and standing in front of the house, listening to the enormous loud knocks and raps that were happening in that house. And after 2 months, they discovered that it was an intelligent knocking. They formed a back and forth knocking code. Basically, the 3 adolescent daughters of the family did that, the 3 Fox sisters. And the 3 Fox sisters are initial to the movement because they became the first role models of mediums in the United States. And already 2 years after the Rochester raps in 1850, all 3 daughters were working as professional mediums all over the country. That was the starting point of modern spiritualism in America.
Wow. Thank you for that, Kai.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah. You're welcome.
And Julie is saying that we love it when Kai goes into the history. So I'm glad. And so I wanted to, so what was, okay, so you start as a child and you have your first circle at 15 years old where you've got your friends, or is it friends, or did you also bring in people that you didn't know yet, or?
No, at these times I was at a boarding school. That was a tradition in my family. My father, my grandfather was at the same boarding school. And yeah, these were mainly school friends and school comrades at that time.
Okay. All right. So you're sitting around. Now, did you like immediately begin to manifest? You were talking to me, you messaged me with materialization mediumship. And this is my first time seeing this phrase, materialization mediumship. And so did you start to have materialize? First of all, can you explain to us what that is? And then did you start to have that in it right away when you were a teen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, when the spirit world starts to manifest around you, then from manifestation to materialization, it's actually only a very little gradual step. Materialization mediumship is the absolute king's practice in spiritualism.
Yeah.
To materialize spirits. Materialize spirits is also an ancient technique that was being exercised all over the world between Africa and India via Hindu practices and Hindu priests and Buddhist priests, Tibetan shamans materialized spirit forms. They were called tulpas, and Northern American Indians were specifically very much in spirit materialization. During their ceremonies, it was usual that spirits were materializing, and that's why the young movement, spiritualism, was so very much referring to the Northern American Indians. Until today, it is very common that English or American mediums have very naturally a Northern American Indian spirit guide in their connection, let's say, and nobody has ever asked, why is that so? Why are Northern American Indians so very much prominent amongst mediums? That had to do with the fact that when this young spiritual movement was starting, 1850, it was a young movement of spirit communication. And where were these young mediums taking their ideas from? Many of them were taking the ideas from the stories of the missionaries and the stories of the anthropologists who were visiting the Northern American Indian medicine men and who were part in Northern American secret ceremonies, spirit ceremonies, healing ceremonies, in which powerful nature spirits, helper spirits, and the spirits of the elders of the Northern American Indian tribes were materializing. And these stories were legendary amongst the settlers in 1850, around 1850 at that time, specifically because powerful healing was being done by these entities. So when the doctor couldn't help, the Northern American, the American settler was visiting the medicine man, and he was experiencing the manifestations of the spirit worlds, the materialization of the spirits that were called by the medicine man, and these spirits were healing. And we're healing him, so the visitor, the Western visitor, and they came back and they were telling their stories about their sittings with the Northern American Indian medicine man. So when this young movement of spiritualism was starting to create a contemporary Western style or tradition of the Northern American Indian form of spirit communication was very much a role model. Okay. So that's the reason why so many mediums are referring to Northern American Indians in their spirit team, let's say.
I have them too, and I love that you're answering a question that I had in my head as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I love that. So let me ask you this, Kai. So if someone, so someone wants to, I feel like the people want to know, like, what happens when they go to a Kai Muegge seance with the Felix Circle? What kind of, what can they expect? Like I know like a lot of people already know, but there's a lot of people that really have no idea. And if I hadn't seen the images for myself, I would have never believed it. So can you go ahead and give us an idea of what to expect?
Yeah. In our seances, we create an environment where the spirit worlds and the spirits themselves can actually take form temporarily. And these spirits are coming with the citizens, are coming with the guests. They are in their memories, they are in their hearts. That's spirits of relatives, but also we had to learn and understand that the term spirit had to be much more wider. It has to be understood in a much more wider frame than usually when we talk about spirits. We talk about the spirits of the deceased, full personality. But we create in the environment of the seance a very, very subtle background, and everything you bring with you has actually the capability to confront you, to address you as a spirit, as a spiritual potential from the outside. Imagine you are carrying, let's say, you are looking very much up to, let's say, a historical personality, and you come into our seances, and suddenly that personality is projecting itself, is showing itself, and you can see, or you can even touch this personality, or the personality does touch you. So
touch them, like you feel their touch, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you have seen the images. Spirits materialize fully. Spirits take form for a specific time, to different degrees. Usually hands are being formed, and then you are being touched. Hands appear and caress your cheek, or move through your hair, or whatnot. And when that happens, actually, what you are bringing in takes actually form in these seances. It's an absolutely fascinating functionality that happens here on behalf of the ceremonial environment we are creating, plus additional mediumistic and trance techniques. And then these very strong manifestations do occur. So physical form, physical tissue can be created by the spirits. We are calling it ectoplasm.
Okay.
Probably you have heard that term before. Ectoplasm is the tissue of the spirits, so to speak, the materia of the spirits. When spirits do materialize, we are usually referring to ectoplasm. It's a half subtle materia. It has many different forms, states, aggregate states. Sometimes it appears like cloudish or foggy.
Okay.
Sometimes it develops into a texture-like, structure-like entity, and the denser it is, the more capability it has to get in contact with you. So it's a very complex process, but the experiences of the sitters in the seance are hugely varied and massive and deeply touching. For many of them, a true healing is happening when their inner is confronting them from the outside as spirits confronting you, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Things you was carrying on in your heart, in your memory, you come in these seances, and this content is suddenly coming from the outside towards you in different layers of meaning and visual density. Yeah, so I know that sounds a little bit cryptic what I'm telling here, but it is a fascinating experience for the most.
Can I ask you this, please, Kai? So ectoplasm has okay. Where does it come from? That's what I want to ask. Where does it come from, or what is it even made out of? Does anybody know?
Yeah, it is building more or less in the atmosphere. We know that it can be exuded by the human being. Sometimes the medium is exuding it. Sometimes sitters are exuding it.
Oh.
Sometimes it is simply appearing inside of the seance room. But it is from the beginning of the movement on, so for 170 years now, it is described, and Nobel described it in detail, like Charles Richet, for example. This is something that happens when we open this ceremonial environment and activate the means of spirit communication. When you have a group of energized people who are willing to go with you through the ceremony, so to speak, through the experience, through the sitting, then there is a potential of energy being used to make these manifestations possible, actually.
Okay. And is this, Kai, may I ask you, is this energy created by the group that's in the room?
Yes. Yes, actually it is classically, traditionally, and typically it is created by the whole group that is attending ceremony and who are wishing, so to speak, as a group to have that spirit contact going. So this group actually provides the energy that is necessary.
Okay. All right. I understand. So this is really fascinating, actually. So what you're saying is that the spirits that manifest in one way or another during could you call it a seance? Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Thank you. During a seance, come actually with the people, with the sitters, with the people that come in. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. For example, people see their loved ones in the ectoplasm.
Wow.
This mass is starting to appear and bulging, and is becoming more voluminous and more voluminous, and suddenly tiny images appear inside of them, and people identify these images and say, "This is my grandmother, or this is son, my deceased son, and he's looking so lively, as if he is just staring into my face." So the deceased are showing themselves in different ways and forms in a physical seance or a materialization seance, if you wish so.
Are they different, Kai? Materialization seance and a physical seance?
Basically not. I mean, the physical seance is referring to the physical manifestations as well, and materialization is one of these physical manifestations. Another one of these physical manifestations, for example, is the phenomenon of materia that is protruding materia.
Like apports?
Like apports, exactly.
So can anybody that doesn't know what an apport is?
An apport is a suddenly appearing object in front of your eye. An object is suddenly popping up, appearing. The spirits use many different ways and forms how they let things appear in the seance room. It's quite spectacular. We have witnessed it on most closest proximity. Observed how the spirit controls. That's how we are calling the spirits who are capable to work with us in a way that is possible. So these spirit controls enable, for example, that massive objects can suddenly appear in red light directly in front of you, out of nothing, with no tricks, with no stage magicianship, pure spiritual manifestations, pure spiritual technique.
Wow. So some of the apports that I've seen, a lot of in the images that you have created online, they look like crystals. Some of them like I don't know if they are. I'm just what I'm seeing in a picture. It looks like some are really big and some are smaller, and then like little items like a Buddha and different things. Is that right? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes. In different sizes, they are calling it activation objects.
Okay.
For another reason, but you are right. These are figurines from little to huge ones. These are crystals from tiny to massive. In all sizes and forms, objects have been materialized in our seances by the spirits.
That's incredible. Where do they come from, Kai? So you're in a seance and this giant crystal, does it manifest like in thin air, quote unquote, or come from you somewhere on your body, or
different ways. Sometimes the spirits simply take it from thin air, and then the people see a short light dischargement in the mid-air, and from mid-air object is falling onto the floor, or objects are raining from the ceiling over minutes all over the room, down onto the people, And Julia is all the time running around trying to collect them, but still they are raining from the ceiling. Sometimes they use my body to demonstrate that they use bodies as portals and that they can change layers of reason and understanding, because in our understanding, a body, for example, is not capable to produce, let's say, 10 objects out of the eyes, let's say. This is what the spirits very successful practice during these seances. They use the eyes of the medium, and people are invited to observe that closed, on very close hand, on very close proximity, with white light, which is shining into the eyes of the medium. And suddenly, out of the eyes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 objects appear and pop out of the eye socket, from the eye socket.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I would love to sit on one of your seances one day. That's like a dream of mine.
Yeah, you should, dear Meagan. Really, you should.
Thank you. So I would like to ask you, so how does spirit, I have two questions actually. So how does spirit use your body? I guess you kind of been talking about that. How do you, all right, so do you leave your body and spirit enters your body? Is that, how do you do
exactly,
it?
Exactly.
Oh,
it's
wow.
A classical deep trance mediumship. I am leaving my body and overgive it, overgive the bioform, so to speak, to a controlled spirit. And this spirit is then overtaking for 2 hours. Meanwhile, I have retreated in a meditational inner room or outer room, but I am not in control over my body. It's a classical technique of letting go and overgive the body to the entity. An entity we know for years, and the entity that overtakes with a lot of care and kindness, and that is then capable to control my body for 2 hours and lead the seance with the sitters.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So how do you prepare, or do you, I mean, you must do something. How do you prepare for a seance? Let's say it's the day you're about to have a seance, or do you prepare like weeks in advance, or that day? Or, I mean, do you have a certain thing that you do or don't do?
Oh, yes. A lot of years, many years, I meditated for hours in the seance room, in the ceremonial room, in the ceremonial space. But in the meantime, actually, the whole day has turned into a meditation that then ends, so to speak, or runs towards that point when we are letting the guests in. So I have completely turned my life into a serving mission for the spirit, and I don't need actual preparation anymore.
Wow.
Previously to the seance, I have a specific diet the day I am doing seance, and I have to drink a specific amount of water, but that was it. The process of overgiving and working with the spirits has very much become a very natural, common thing for me to do, and no specific preparation is anymore needed.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question, but first, Julie Adriani is asking, will you be coming back to the USA this summer? She says she loves your work.
Probably yes. Probably yes. Hey, Julie, how are you doing? Great to hear from you. Hello.
And I believe you came to Fort Lauderdale in 2019, right?
Yeah, and I hope we can realize this year as well to return to Fort Lauderdale.
That would be cool. I'm only a few hours away. I can manifest that.
Oh yeah, that would be great. It's a fabulous venue. It's the Metaphysical Chapel of South Florida, of Fort Lauderdale, run by Kevin Lee. He is an exceptional reverend and a teacher, and he is working with different physical mediums all over the world, and he regularly brings them in. And yeah, we are looking forward to work with him again in future.
That sounds amazing. Thank you for that. So I wanted to ask you, so apports, where do they come from? I mean, because I've been doing some research since I knew I was going to be interviewing you, and I'm excited. But so I mean, I've heard that some of them come from the past, quote unquote, like or some of them. Can you tell me? You tell us. I don't want to tell you. Where do they come from, Kai?
Apports can. You know, it's a little bit a mixing up of terms here, because usually you are referring to objects that appear in the seance room as apports, but many of them are no apports. Many of them are materializations, because an apported object is an object that has existed before, somewhere in time space, here in our reality. Maybe it is coming from the past. Maybe it is coming from a different location. For example, in England, we were capable to let things appear we saw in the afternoon. Meanwhile, we were moving through the city. So these are actually apports. Apports are traveling in a paranormal way, so to speak. Are teleported, if you wish so, from one place or from one time space into our time space. Wow. These are apports, and sometimes the spirits claim that when people die and they have owned objects, and these objects were only known by very few people, and when the last of them dies, nobody on earth is anymore remembering these objects. And the spirits claim when that happens, then the dimensional the physical dimensionality of these objects is starting to fluctuate, and they can actually skim them off. They can actually take them out of the time space routine, let's say, and can work with them in different ways, because nobody is remembering them, and then they start to flicker in and out. It's like Schrödinger's cat, you know. I don't know if you know that analogy about Schrödinger's cat. It's a little bit like that. Nobody are things existing.
Sounds like quantum physics. Like if nobody's looking at it, then it doesn't really exist. gonna...
Exactly. So the question is, do things still exist when nobody is knowing that they are there? And the spirits claim that objects that have gone forgotten, that they truly, start to fluctuate, start to flicker in their physical density in our reality, and they can actually transport them, take them, skim them off, take them away from where they were, and move them around some to a place somewhere in time space. So these are apports. Materializations are objects which are usually looking very precise and very new. And these are objects which are created from thought form directly into matter. Thought form drowned into ectoplasm, let's say, materializes them. For example, many of the objects that appear in the eyes of the medium, we believe are actually materializations and not apports.
Okay.
Because they are looking like new gemstones, and meanwhile other objects that appear in the bare hand of the medium, in just a blink of an eye, you just have controlled the bare hand of the medium, and you are allowed to look into its palm, sitting on the floor, looking upwards. The medium holds the bare, empty hand over your hands, and you can look into the palm, into the empty palm of the hand, and suddenly out of the empty palm objects do fall down into your hands, which you are holding like a cup below the medium's hand exactly, and then objects fall which partially look very old. We had amazing rings and bracelets and images and handwritings of the deceased, by the way. We had a lot of handwritings of the deceased.
Really?
We had graphological expertises made by these handwritings to see if they are legit.
Right.
And they were. So handwritings of the deceased play a role in the development of the Felix Circle specifically. So there are the apported objects which are coming teleported from somewhere in time space, and we have the materialized objects which are created from thought form into matter by a process the spirits are facilitating. We cannot actually understand. We can only sit in front of it and observe it, and be stunned observing what these spirit entities can achieve.
So it was basically thought form plus ectoplasm can equal materialization, potentially.
So created from thought form, we call materialization. Have not existed physically before. They have existed maybe in a blueprint, but they have not existed before in time space, and they are then pushed into our dimensionality, and then they take spontaneously form and appear in front of us.
So they're made physical, because I guess I know in spirit, right? We can imagine anything and create anything with thought alone, right? So we're talking. I feel like what you're talking about is that it's in spirit. I have to lower this. I'm getting some feedback. Is that they're like something is created in thought and then pushed into our 3D reality and made manifest right there in real time with humans sitting there around watching this. Does that sound?
Absolutely,
Oh my
absolutely.
God, that's amazing.
This is what happening. This is what happening.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and Julie Adriani, she has seen it. She was with us, and I'm sure she has seen some of the. There are many ways and forms the spirits are doing that, but I'm sure she has seen some of them.
Absolutely, and I've heard from Ardelia Ince as well, and so exciting, so exciting. Let me ask you this, Kai: can anyone be a physical medium, or are you born a physical medium? How does that work?
No.
By the way, and yes,
we all have the connection. We all have the connection. The spirit communication is a communicational archetype of the human being, of the human being's behaviorism, and the only difference is when in your life you are allowing these things to happen. So I was lucky that I stumbled over all of this when I was so young, and that I could now for 37 years actually develop as a physical medium, and that gives me a big advantage, but it's only an advantage in regards to the time, because we strongly believe that mediums, maybe you are born with, let's say, a talent, let's say with an attraction like thing towards supernatural dynamics, but actually these are techniques, psychotechniques connected with group dynamics. We are activating ancient memes which are existing for thousands of years, and modern parapsychology is explaining to us how that is working, because it is, let's say, when they are explaining how, for example, the Ouija board works, or the table is floating. This is actually created by a specific field that starts to build when people come together, yearning for the supernatural, and when then specific techniques are added up or added onto this, then patients actually can occur. The parapsychology is talking about meta planes,
okay,
and energy fields, meta energy fields, which are created as a projection of what the group is representing as a systemic, as a system. And this group system, connected with the attempt to connect with the supernatural, creates this very specific environment, connected with the expectations of the people and the practices of the people, that make in that environment these seemingly rare, but they are not so rare, these manifestations. They have happened around us human beings for all times, but it is the ceremonial environment that makes it happen. And we believe mediums are not born. Mediums are using techniques, and maybe you have a talent for this. Maybe you have, a talent, let's say, but we believe actually everybody can develop to that point.
Thank you for sharing that. While I'm listening to you, Kai, Julie Adriani has been generous enough to share some of the beautiful gifts, and she's said I can bring them on the screen and show them if it's okay with you, Kai. She said,
yeah, of course.
Spirit, large materialization when it was raining airports, and I was so blessed to attend 6 of your seances. So this is the image that she's just shared with me. That's magnificent. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? I mean, just...
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Can you see it? Maybe if I can make it bigger. Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to make it. I think that's as large as I can make it.
Yeah. You need to know that I am, during these manifestations, I am actually sleeping. I am in a deep trance. But
Okay.
very probably, Julia Adriani is showing us here objects that have appeared during the seance.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot really say under which circumstances they appeared.
I understand.
But probably, yeah.
Is that crystal? That the one in the center? There's a very large, amazing.
I only see the lower. I only see the lower portion. There is a big. Oh, now I can see it. Oh, yes. This is a typical activation stone.
Oh, activation stone. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. And these stones activate a lot. They activate the memory of the seance. They activate your connection you made to the spirits. They activate actually a kind of little contract you did with the spirits when you are visiting our seances, because the spirits of our seances want you to do some things for you, for your community, for the world, actually.
Okay.
And this stone is representing this contract. This stone is representing your part in a supernatural joint venture, actually. And actually, it's about survival of the humankind. It's survival of the planet. The spirits are actually recruiting light workers, want to activate light workers all around the world. And with these objects, they are depicting like light workers and focusing onto them and say, we want you, we need your light, share it in your community, share it in your spiritual work, and become a part of a worldwide movement, actually towards a paradigm shift that hopefully will occur somewhere soon. And our spirits are explaining a lot about these attempts and tries to raise the human vibration. And yeah, we have to do something for it. And the stones are representing our responsibility. And that's why they are called activation stones. They are activating the good in you. They are activating your good deed, what you can do for the community or for the planet.
I love that. Thank you, Kai, for that amazing explanation. Thank you, Julie Adriani, for sharing these amazing stones with us, and thank you, Spirit, for helping me to get it on the broadcast with no issues at all. That's amazing.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
They remove that now, and okay. And that's an interesting question, Lena. So Lena Bolin is asking, how does one acquire such a stone? So if I know someone has to be at one of your seances, does Spirit decide who gets the activation stone? How does that transpire?
Yeah, usually during a seance, so many objects do appear that in the end, everybody is receiving a gift from the spirit world. And this is a tradition as well. We know that is happening in our movement, in the movement of spiritualism. And spiritualism is the Western contemporary tradition of spirit communication. And in that Western contemporary tradition, spirits have used a lot of times gemstones and stones and figurines, meaningful figurines representing spirituality, and giving these as gifts. And basically everybody is receiving something, but every time they are focusing onto 3, 4, 5 people during a seance, and giving them a personal message, a message of appreciation, a message that signals, a message that says, we can see you, and we are very close with you, and we appreciate what you are doing, and we want to honor this, and we want to give you something for your work and something for your future work. And then a light explosion is happening, and a huge object is falling onto the floor, and it is and then an object specified or specifically created for this person, and the person is of course only invited to receive that gift. Nobody is forced in our seances to receive gifts. Maybe somebody doesn't like them, so you are only invited to receive these gifts. Usually everybody is receiving them eventually, and that's how people are receiving these figurines and these stones and gemstones and glass artifacts and bracelets and whatnot, and rings and earrings and all these objects, thousands of objects over the last years.
Wow. You said something, you mentioned like a flash of light. Does it happen from your hands? Does it come from the middle of the room? What is that? Where is this flash of light or energy? And can you explain more about that, please?
Yeah. Sometimes the spirits are calling the sitter to sit in front of the medium.
Okay.
And it's bright red light directly besides the sitter and the medium.
Okay.
And the medium shows its empty hands, and the sitter is wanted to form with its 2 hands a cup again, and then this is over the hands of the sitter. This light discharging is suddenly happening.
Wow.
They sometimes they have to wait a little bit, and out of that light, then the objects fall into the hands of the sitter. Sometimes they let the light come from my hands, and we have a lot of descriptions of sitters who describe how spirit is bringing up increasing the energy that the hands and the arms start to glow in a bluish light, and then suddenly this bluish light explodes, and out of my hands the objects fall.
Wow. Incredible. I have a question. Have you ever sat with, because you're the medium and you're in trance. Have you ever sat with another physical medium in their circle and witnessed it from that perspective?
Oh yes, with many.
Oh, okay.
Probably I've sat with all physical mediums around the world, and not only with the mediums. I have sat with Northern American Indian medicine men as well, who are still holding these ceremonies in which the spirits do manifest, like in our seances. So anthropologists estimate these Northern American Indian spirit ceremonies in which spirits manifest physically, like in our seances, of around 10,000 of years old. Other anthropologists even believe that these ceremonies are even 20,000 years old. And there are even anthropologists who believe that already the Neanderthal, or already the early human being, the Neanderthal human being, had a concept of the supernatural world and had ceremonies like this as well. And that's why some anthropologists actually refer to that as the Neanderthal ceremony, because it is so very much old. So I sat with all the mediums. I sat with a lot of Northern American Indian medicine men to have spirits manifest.
Wow. Is there a certain type of ceremony that you've experienced that you were more drawn to than others that really resonated with you?
Absolutely. For many decades, it was believed to be a secret a ceremony, but actually the Northern American Indians were keeping the traditional Northern American Indians were keeping these traditions very dear and close to their hearts, and they did not want to sell out these ceremonies, and that's why they were only held in very secluded parts of the Northern American Indian society. But then there was the Northern American Indian movement in 1974, and some medicine men started to actually invite whites to their ceremonies. And there is a ceremony which is called UVP ceremony. I'm talking about the Oglala Nation, the Lakota Indians.
Lakota, okay.
The medicine men in the reservation are using these ceremonies as healing ceremonies. This is healing for physical, mental, emotional, psychological issues. This is healing for the community. This is healing for the individual. So healing truly on a very wide basis. And these UVP ceremonies are so powerful. It takes your shoes off. I can tell you. It is accompanied by traditional drumming and singing of the Northern American Indian musicians. It's a sacred language being used in these ceremonies, and then powerful spirits enter the room. And I can tell you the whole room is shaking. And these entities do not come without reason. They only come for a purpose. And the purpose actually here is the healing purpose. The medicine man at that instance is putting himself in a state of UVP means they tie him. And actually the medicine man is enwrapped and strictly tied, like Kota have traditionally tied their deceased relatives before they were burned on a wooden altar. Okay. And they were strictly tied up because they were not wanted to go lost in the spiritual world, in the spirit world.
Okay.
And the medicine man is actually risking here his personal health as a pledge towards the spirits, or to the spirits, that they heal the people who actually need the healing. Because in that binding, you have no air to breathe. You start to hallucinate, and in that binding, you cannot move. Your arms are strictly tied up onto your back. You are really strictly tied up, and you are lying in that position for hours, and you actually start to drift away. You have to drift away, otherwise you start to panic in that tied up fashion.
Wow.
But that's the moment when healing is starting to happen, and the spirits address the people who attend the ceremony and give them healing via traditional gestures, let's say, using the rattles, the traditional wagmuas. The healing rattle of the medicine man is used by the spirits. All over the room, you hear the rattles being used by the spirits. People are doctored by spirit hands and by these rattles, and you can have powerful apparitions. For example, Northern American Indian elders can materialize in these sessions.
Wow.
Famous medicine men can materialize. A bear has materialized in one of the sessions I was in. Wow. A stinking bear. And the bear was so powerful. He was attacking somebody who was lying tied up on the altar. But it was a spiritual fight. It was about to get the bear under control spiritually. And after that, the bear became a confederate in healing for the medicine men. So, but everybody was hearing and feeling and smelling the bear, who was stinking and who was making enormous loud noises. And the bear is very much often materializing in these ceremonies. I know it sounds crazy, but
no, it sounds a little frightening. It doesn't sound crazy. I'm thinking, like, did that scare anybody, or everybody's kind of anticipating that this could happen?
Yeah, you have to trust.
Yeah.
Like in an ayahuasca ceremony, when suddenly you become frightened, you have to trust that the spirits bring you through. And it's the same like here. The spirits bring you through, and you have to stand your fears. In the end, it will be for your good. So the UVP ceremony is one of the oldest ceremonies of the Lakota, and comparable ceremonies have existed in all Indian societies. So we are privileged today when we are allowed to attend one of these ceremonies. If you ever have the opportunity to attend a UVP ceremony, a UVP healing ceremony, don't miss it.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. Wow, that sounds incredible. And so the medicine man is the one that does this, where it would be like the medium and during a seance, correct?
Indeed.
And can any harm, you're saying they're tied up or what have you, can any harm ever come to the medium or anybody during one of these events?
Yeah, it's the medicine men who are tied up in that way. The mediums are usually not tied up in that
grave or absolute manner. But you know, the Lakota, it's traditional, like in their sun dance, they actually have nothing else than their body. And they are using their body also during the sun dance when they are doing offerings to the community for the healing of the community, when they are actually cutting pieces of flesh out of their skin. Then that is an act of sacrifice towards the community and towards the ceremony and towards the spirits, of course. The same it is with the UWIPI ceremony. The medicine man has only his body, and he is offering his body to receive healing in return. And this is by itself powerful.
Give me 1 second. Somebody said that they couldn't see the video, or the video stopped, but the comments haven't. I just want to make sure that everybody can still see us. Let me take a look. Looks like we can. I believe we're fine. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure we're still up and running. This is absolutely amazing, Kai. Oh my gosh. Are you okay, like, for another half hour? Would that be all right with you? Till 5 o'clock Eastern Standard
Yes.
Time? Yeah? Oh, good. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm excited. 'Cause I know we got a late start, and I know that I could just, like, talk to you all night. It's incredible. So I wanted to ask you let me ask you this first. Okay, so what are some of the most common questions that you get asked, and ones that you find the most interesting to speak about?
Yeah, usually questions are about the trance and how we facilitate trance and how we teach trance and how we understand trance. And we are actually teaching an alternative way in Western spirituality, specifically in spiritualism. There are very traditional ways to work with spirits and to work with trance. We teach another way, a more effective way, and a way in which you learn to connect with spirit and to speak in a trance state during one weekend. More or less guaranteed, yes, because we are using specific triggers, because our body is so very much used to be in trance, and nobody is understanding or knowing a lot about that, because trance actually only means altered state of mind. The state of trance is not more defined than that, altered state of mind, and it's an altered state of mind to your everyday state of mind, in which you are making dinner for your children, let's say, yes. But in our lives, there are so many instances in which we actually fall into an automatism, and that automatism is actually a trance state. Let's think about how we are driving our car, how we are using a high-end technology, more or less without a lot of thinking. Many of us are phoning or talking or even texting, even though that is forbidden, of course, are texting when they are driving a super high technology vehicle. How is that possible? All their activities are happening, so to speak, in an automatized, non-conscious way. So you are actually driving your car, you are shifting the gear in a trance. You are not thinking about, now I have to put my foot on the pedal, then I have to draw back the gear. No, this is all happening by itself. So our body is used to these automatisms,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, trance is actually a lot of it. You know the term automatic writing.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It is called automatic writing because we stumble here, we are confronted here with the same automatisms which we already know from our life, from our dealing with reality. So
Okay.
we are using these automatisms and teach your body and your mind the trance the other way around. It's too complex to excavate that here. It's part of our workshops and it's part of our seminars. But I can guarantee you trance state, deep trance state, and trance speaking in 2 days. And we are doing that for many years all over the world, and it works.
That's really exciting to me. I just recently started sitting for trance with some incredible mediums. And Julie Adriani has an amazing question, which I also love. And your beautiful wife, Julia, is answering. She's saying, when will you teach in English in the USA? And Julia is saying, we are still in preparation. It will be coming soon online. Yay! I'm so there.
Yeah, indeed. So that there will be indeed an online course about trance states, and we hope that we will be able to give live workshops in the US as well when we are at location.
That would be awesome. Janine Lane has a question. She says, how do you know if you're a physical medium? And Janine Lane is an amazing trance medium who speaks in trance all the time now. So I think she's interested.
Usually, you know that you are a physical medium when you feel massively attracted by that area. When you are working already in the mediumistic area, your interest may not be coincidental. Probably something is behind, and if you feel drawn towards these topics, surrender yourselves, give yourselves, and you will see how quickly you can bring the spirit world to the point to manifest around you. Usually it starts with an experimental sitter's circle. You do not necessarily need a specific medium. It's enough when you have 3, 4, 5 really engaged and committed people who want to work with the spirits on that physical level. And very soon, the spirits will start to manifest around you.
Thank you for that, Kai. And that was a great question, Janine Lane. I want to ask you, I want to do 2 things. One, I want to ask everyone if you have an amazing spiritual question for the incredible physical medium Kai Muegge, go ahead and ask that now. And I wanted to ask you, are there certain, and I know a little bit of the answer to this, but it doesn't matter because I want you to answer it. Are there certain atmospheric situations that are required for a seance? And if so, why? And while you're answering, I'm going to go grab some more water. I'll be right back. Okay. If you want to just like answer that while I'm gone, that would be awesome.
What was the question? What was the question?
The question is, are there any specific atmospheric situations that are required in the room when you have a seance? And if so, why? Like, I know I've seen like they usually sit in a circle, at least in my opinion, my vision, what I think anyway. So let's please talk about that for a moment.
Yeah. Actually, yes. The whole build of the seance room, the choose process of the sitters is part of that ceremonial space that has to be created here. And The sitters circle is part of it. The way the sitters are seated is part of it. The way the seance room is being used or not being used for other purposes may play a role. The number of different sexes in the seance room will play a role. The symmetry of the room will play a role. The time of the day may play a role. It all has influence on the outcome of the seance, and
Wow.
You actually, it's your responsibility actually to start with your experimental circle and check that all out. What are the best conditions for you to work in a specific room that you may have? And we are sharing all our experiences we had over the last 37 years in regards to that. And it's about accessing the physical seance room easily via so-called table sittings. We call them initiation sittings because of that, because you can access easily the world of physical manifestations of the spirit world when you are creating a so-called table seance environment, and you start to sit with your group of people around a table, and you have your hands on the table, and you have a cabinet in the back of the room, and you have focus objects around you.
What are focus objects?
Focus objects are objects which are specifically located in the room because you want that the spirit dynamics, the spirit powers may address them. So we, in our case, we have tambourines with a lot of little lights taped on them, illuminating tape. We have all over the tambourine, and position the tambourine somewhere in the room and try to focus the energy we are erecting with our group and with the spirits. We try to focus it onto the object, and it's fascinating to see when the spirits start to successfully affect such an object, and you can actually strengthen that, and at a specific point in time, the tambourine will fly around the room.
Oh my gosh.
Around your heads, they will land on your shoulder, they will land on your head. And so a lot of different conditions you can influence a seance with. Mainly it's about the medium and the sitters. Mainly it is about the ceremonial space that is created together. And mainly it is about activating ancient memes about spirit communication and the ceremonial environment. We humans are reaching out the beyond in subtle areas of our existence. That creates the environment together with our energies and expectations that enables the spirits to manifest in these environments.
So let me ask you, please. So this focus object, and you're saying that you and the sitters can create more activity. Is it the focused intention, Kai, that creates more, that helps the spirits to move the object more? How does that work? I'm trying to figure it out in my human brain.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we train that with our spirits, and the spirits we work with at the moment, we are working with for approximately 10 years
Oh,
now.
wow.
We work with them since the days of the Felix Circle.
Okay.
In the Felix Circle that was sitting for 11 years, many mediums did develop, and I did develop in the Felix Circle as well. And we stumbled upon a group of spirits which offered themselves to us. And with these spirits, we are working until today with, and you can build these helper spirits up in your work. You have to follow specific guidelines to connect the dynamics of the room with the subtle presence of the spirits you know are with you.
Okay. So you've had the same spirits with you in all of your circles for 10 years, is that correct? Or more than 10 years now then?
Yeah, I mean it's the Felix Circle actually, which is existing in so far until today that it is defunct, but
Oh, okay.
it was regularly working between 2004 and 2015, and today we only meet at Easter, Christmas, a Christmas seance, and all the members come together then. So yeah, that actually is my circle, so to speak, and the spirits we worked with in the Felix Circle, I work with as a medium when we travel all around the world and create many Felix circles all over the world when we bring in the sitters.
It's funny because you keep answering questions before I ask them.
Yes.
I love that. Like, thanks, Guy. That's what I was going to ask. If you have the same like team, the same spirits that when you travel the world, you did the same, and then they said they do. That's fascinating. So it would be the ones that you always use, you know, that you connect with on a regular basis, as well as like maybe new spirits based on the sitters. Is that how that works?
Exactly,
Oh, I got that.
exactly. So there is always a specific new spirit environment created everywhere where we go, because the specific group of sitters is providing many spirit potentials, and these potentials are connecting with the very much trained potentials we are coming with, and potentials have these spirits of the sitters, let's say, can use to manifest easier, and yeah, and then people can have these amazing experiences and see their loved ones, or see ectoplasm work and form and morph and build forms and heads and torsos, and cats and dogs, our pets who have died, they come back in the seance room and manifest there. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow. What about darkness? I mean, it seemed like, is it always dark? I know you have like some
Oh no,
lighting.
oh
Oh,
no.
okay, so it can be very light and wow. So
Yeah, I
that's just the
mean,
thing you see in the movies then, is it? That's what I
let's
mean by
let,
darkness.
let's look at the Northern American Indian UVP ceremony, which is a night ceremony,
Okay.
and during the spirits are there, actually lights are off, and that has a specific reason. And in our seances, from time to time, lights are off as well, but we have a lot of red light as well, and the most bizarre things happen in red light, like the upwards, like ectoplasm exuding, forming, building. It is all happening in red light, but in the darkness, for example, at the beginning, the medium is always held by two persons sitting left and right to the medium, holding the medium at all stages of the evening, at hands and feet. So the medium is always secure in the chair, and nobody can claim or believe that the medium maybe walks through the room and is mimicking the spirits. So that is definitely not happening.
Of course. That's interesting, though. So they actually
people can always locate us. We have independent controllers that are holding the medium, and they are more or less all the time reporting to the other sitters that they, with hands-on, have the medium controlled, holding it at arms and legs on a chair, and moreover, you can hear the spirit speak out of the body of the medium all the time. So you can locate the body of the medium through these spirit talks also. And meanwhile that happens, all over the room things do manifest. There, for example, are waves of touches going over the sitters, and sitters are being touched, and you hear on the recordings, you hear the people calling out loud, "Oh, I'm being touched. Somebody lays a hand on my head. Oh, I feel somebody is moving in front of me. Oh, somebody approaches me from behind and kisses me in my neck." And this all happens at once, while the medium is held securely in its chair. And so darkness is the natural environment of the spirits in our time space. That's why the witching hour is at night. That's why the succubi and the incubi are sitting at night on our chest. That's why the poltergeists are pushing us out of our beds at night. That's why Justinus Kerner, scholar of Paracelsus, is referring to all these phenomena as the night side of nature, because they have a strong reference to darkness. And let's look at the oldest word, for example, which is describing these phenomena. And the oldest word we have is the word occult. It's coming from the Greek and from the Latin. And occult is usually referring to all these supernatural events. But when we translate it correctly, occult says that what comes from darkness. So,
really?
Oh yes. And why do we human beings are afraid? Why are we human beings afraid of darkness? It is because we have an ancient knowledge that in the dark woods and in darkness below our bed, the monsters, the supernatural is looking for us. And that's why little children, just being able to express themselves, they suddenly address their parents and say, "Mama, please don't close the door. I want that light shines in. Mama, please look under the bed. Mama, please look in the
closet."
Yeah, in the closet. Please look in the closet. Something may hide there in the dark. These young children, they should associate with darkness the security of the motherly womb. That is their personal experience with darkness. What makes them afraid at such a young age? It's the ancient knowledge living in their DNA that the darkness means a connection to the supernatural. And that's why darkness is used in seances. When you are wanting to hold fishes at home, will you put water or will you put red wine in your aquarium?
Put water, of course.
You would put water in the aquarium. And when you want to work experimentally with spirits, you choose darkness, initial tool to work with them. And when you start to work with them, you can develop them into lights. But first you have to initiate them in darkness. And that is why darkness is needed. It is an experimental environment. It is a tool. It has nothing to do that in the darkness the medium cheats or doing fraudulent things that maybe has happened. But that is not the reason why in experimental spiritism darkness is used to create an environment which is natural for spirit potentials, for supernatural environments.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense.
Oh yes, it does.
It's interesting because I mean it's funny because I believe, and so, but you're mentioning, but I understand that I suppose like skepticism could happen, you know, in something like this because it's so far removed from the regular 3D reality, the matrix that we live in. So I'm sure it would flip a lot of people out. And maybe do some people even like attend a seance as a skeptic? I imagine probably so. Maybe no.
Yeah, from time to time, and
that changes the energy.
No. Basically, no.
Okay.
Honestly, skepticism is usually coming from their armchairs, and we have invited. I mean, we have worked scientifically for many years with American scientists and with Austrian scientists, but there is always a discrepancy, and you will find a lot of things theorized about our seances, maybe in the internet, that we are using LED lights and that we are using Halloween spider webs. I can tell you that they claim
Really?
they believe I am swallowing them and puke them out then. Actually,
you're quite talented.
I mean, really, you have to be, but when they want to harm you, logic is not a problem. So I don't know who can swallow Halloween spider webs or hide Halloween spider webs in your bottom. But all these things they have brought up, and I can tell you nothing of that is happening. And you can come in our seances and you will feel and you will sense the natural environment and the pureness of what is going on. And so this is not by far not a stage magician's show. This really has to be understood. And everybody who is invited in our sessions, we have talked with in the pre-field to make that clear. And I believe and it is everybody who attends our seances. After the seance, they know.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, because as I said, I've spoken with Julie a little bit, and with Ardelia and Ronnie, and I mean, everybody talks about you. You're like the most famous physical medium, I believe, in the world at this moment, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's this. We shall never forget that it is the spirits who are facilitating it. Yeah. We shall never forget that with all these wonders, a message is coming. It is a message which is about the survival of the human race, because we have not handled our responsibilities rightly. We were totally irresponsible, and we have and we have failed so gravely, and the spirits want to take us at our hands, actually, and want to lead us out of the darkness. And this is actually what is going on here. And the spirits legitimize themselves with these wonders when they say, will you listen to me when I show you that I can bend your reality? And that's actually the case. The people listen when they believe it's maybe a figment of the subconsciousness of the medium. The message won't make no sense. So then the spirits make it clear and tell you, it is us, and I bend your reality and show you things no human being can do. By the way, we had regularly stage magicians sitting in our seances to let them prove our routines.
Wow.
And oh yes, and it's all on our American blog, on our English-speaking blog, felixcircle.blogspot.com, and you can find there the commentaries of the stage magicians that sat in our seances. So yeah, it's criticism from time to time, but normally the people are very much taken into the process.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all of that, Kai. So,
you're welcome.
A couple more. It's actually already 5 o'clock, but I have a couple more questions. Is that all right? Do you have any more time, or we can end it? And
yeah, let's say 2 or 3 more questions,
okay.
And then
you got it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be greedy with your time. I apologize. All right, so if you could just give us. Okay, I wanted you to finish talking about the table seances. I interrupted you because I asked you about what the objects are around the room, and you were talking about the tambourines. So if you could just finish that topic, that would be just great, and explain a table seance. Then maybe
I mean, a table seance is an easy access to the world of physical phenomena, and the dynamics that happen in a rightly prepared and in a rightly led table seance, they are the first step into the world of manifestative spirit phenomena. Yeah, and you don't need much. You only need a few people and a table, and the table becomes like a measure. The table becomes like a tool. The spirits use to announce their linking into the process. It's quite fascinating, these table phenomena, and the sudden lifting of the table when all 4 legs suddenly jump from the floor and the table floats in the air. It's absolutely fascinating. It takes a little time until you get there, but it's a fascinating ride, I can tell you. And if you have committed friends like you engaged in these questions and wanting to find out about the dynamics of mysticism and physical phenomena and the wonder of the supernatural world, then every single minute when you are experiencing and experimenting will be worthwhile. And not only that, the bond with these people will, when you do it rightly, will become tighter, and you may develop friendships for your life, because exploring together the realms of the supernatural is something absolutely amazing. And I'm not talking about ghost hunters who, yeah.
I feel
I
it. I
tell
know what
you,
you're talking about.
yeah, I tell you that the seance room is actually what you are looking for.
Absolutely. I feel like with ghost hunters, it's like people that just want to be like spooked or connected.
Exactly. Yes.
They don't
Exactly.
believe. And I feel like the people that would be in the seance room are people that really want to get in there and connect, and they're really fully like into it, and they believe, and they just want to like nurture that relationship and build on that relationship. Does that make sense to you? Like they're building on the relationship with spirit as opposed to just like, oh, I saw one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 That's right. But I want to underline that I didn't want to be disrespectful. I mean, there are people taking that ghost hunt very serious,
That's
and yeah, working with EVP, of course, that can, by the way, be done in the seance room as well. But if you want to really connect with the spirits and build something up,
yeah.
instead of traveling to one haunted house after the other, then actually the seance room is the room that is made for you. And let me tell you, all these Hollywood stories, they are not true about demons coming through the Ouija board and demons coming in the seance. You will encounter in the seance what you bring in with your heart, and when you are upright and a true seeker, then only the true spirits you will encounter there. So these are Hollywood stories, and they are coming from, Hasbro is selling Ouija boards to 4 years old kids.
Really? Wow. Hasbro.
Yes,
Okay.
and with an instruction booklet about how to use it, 4 to 6 year old, and there are Ouija boards made for female for females, for little girls, and this is where the trauma is coming from, because these little girls and boys believe it is a game, and they are actually using a tool which is being used as a spirit communication tool, and they use it as a game, and there things have happened that shocked the children. And suddenly their grandma was obviously communicating with the Ouija board, let's say, and they were massively spooked by it.
I'm sure.
And,
yeah.
and that is where all these stories coming from, that there are bad entities living in the Ouija board and so forth. The Ouija board is only a tool, nothing else. It's a piece of wood, and you can use it as a facilitator for your communication attempts with the spirit world.
Wow. Well, this has been amazing, Kai, and thank you so much for staying overtime today. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with? Otherwise, I'll thank you for your amazing time. So I'll just leave this for you for a moment. And
yeah, I only would like to say, for so many years, the manifestations within spirituality have been actively pushed aside by another branch within spirituality that maybe did not want to have a competitor on the market, or out of other reasons.
Really?
Fact is, there is a massively fascinating world waiting for you. Spirits can manifest in many ways around you. You only have to let it happen. So we are inviting you to do exactly this. Bring together a few friends and summon the spirits in the ways and forms of the traditional physical seance, and your life that maybe was gray and repetitive will become a true treasure chest, and the fascination of the spirit world is ready to come over you. So the world of spiritual manifestations are waiting for you, and come into our seances if you want to see it being done by us. You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kai. I would be so honored, love to sit with you one day, and Julia. And oh my gosh, thank you so very much for today. I know this.
Thank you, dear Megan. Thank
welcome.
you.
Like,
thank you.
You've been amazing. I know it was like 3 months in the planning, and I would love to, to maybe chat with you again at a future date if you have some time and can.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. We would love to.
That's wonderful. Thank you again. You were all amazing. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to watch the replay, share it out, and have an amazing day. Namaste.
Thank you. Good night.